All right, wonderful. It looks like we're live. Excellent. So I know we're going to get folks trickling in shortly. So we're going to wait for a few folks. And as we wait, we're just quickly setting up to make sure we've got everything that we'll be covering today. Excellent, excellent. So welcome, folks. And as folks are coming in, in the meantime, in the chat window, if you can locate that, usually it's found in the bottom of the screen of your dock. Feel free to chime in and share where you're logging in from. And what is the weather outside? How does it look like outside? Or your degree? What's your temperature right now? What's your reading? So where you're logging in and what is your current temperature and where you're at. And thank you. Hi, Robin. Hi. Good to have you here. So feel free to locate the chat as we wait for a few folks to trickle in, and we'll be starting promptly shortly after. So let's give it another minute just to make sure folks are in, and we'll begin with what we have in store for you all. Excellent. All right, wonderful. Jason, thank you. From Columbia, Kentucky, and it's snowy and cold here. I bet. And oh, it's good to see another familiar face. Jason Hopel, good. 66 in Arizona right now. All right, Tracy from, it looks like Pennsylvania, from the PA. Yep. And we've got more folks from Arizona. And we have folks from Washington, 37 and raining. Oh, wow. Crazy. So yes, so please, folks, as you're coming in, I know there's a few folks still trickling in. We're just asking folks to just chat where they're logging in from and putting what the temperature reading is outside. Um, gives us a good understanding where folks are chiming in from. So thank you. All right, we've got Jerry here today. Awesome, Jerry. You don't okay, Jerry. I hope you're okay though. At least good connection and hopefully cozy somewhere. Okay. I just saw your chat. That's all. Yes, hang in there, folks. I know we're in the winter time, and so here I am in Southern California. That's where we're logging in from, and we've got sweaters here. So, anyways, it's officially winter, as you all know. If you don't know, just check outside, and I'm sure you're gonna realize it's winter. But excellent. And we got folks, there you go, more folks from Arizona. Excellent. Good to have you all. Looks like we've got a few folks still trickling in, so we'll start very shortly. But thank you. Awesome. Philly and 33 and cloudy. Oh my goodness, 33 degrees. Wow. So I can't speak for anyone here, but my goodness, it has been a bit chilly, and honestly, the weather here sometimes fluctuates a ton. So you never know what you're going to get. So I guess it's always good to just be grateful what you got, and at the end of the day, hopefully, it doesn't lead to any issues for anyone, especially when it comes to travel. So be careful out there. Excellent. So, folks, we're excited to have you all. I'm going to kick it off and just start with introductions. And at the end of the day, we've got something fun in store for you all. So, for those that have joined us in the past, yes, we will continue with activities. Yes, we will continue with awesome incentives and prizes, just because, quite honestly, you are all our community members. And at the end of the day, we're only as strong as our community is. So, excited to have you all. And at the end of the day, too, this is the first kickoff and winter installment webinar that we're hosting for our community. So we're excited for 2024. So we want to wish you obviously all a happy new year and a strong year too. I know many of you have already started back to school or in back to school mode at the very least. And so again, we want to wish you a lot of um, great up and comings that you've got as you finish the academic year strong. So excellent. So for those who don't know me, my name is Ruben Caputo, and I am the marketing manager for ViewSonic. And for the person that will be presenting to us today, as you can see here on the share screen, is Miss Haley Hunt, and she is our product manager, and she'll be doing the presentation today. But before we dive into presentation, I always like to share a couple of housekeeping items just to make sure folks know where to navigate. And then I'm going to share a couple news and announcements, and then we'll begin to our scheduled programs. So a couple of housekeeping items is that we are using a video conference platform, and you can use your mobile device or your laptop or smartphone, what have you, tablets, all that great stuff, so that you can log in, participate, and also ask away with your questions under the Q&A, under the doc portion. So there is a Q&A icon. So any questions you may have during the presentation and you would like for our PMs to take a look at, they will answer it there. Now, for comments or inquiries of sorts, it will be found under the chat icon. And so that is where you go ahead and type in some of your comments and chats. Okay, excellent. So I've got a couple of news and announcements to share with you all. So I'm going to share my screen very shortly here. So hang tight. Let's see here. Okay, so for those that don't know, we have a community platform and it looks exactly like this. Now, I want to take everybody to our landing page, which is our website. And here's our website. So, and I will put this in the chat. So this is something to reference, nothing to worry about right now. And so here under our landing page, you'll find lots of different news and announcements here in our banner. And also you'll find the ability to join our community. So the neat thing about joining our community is all you do is click here, this join the community button, and it will literally take you, I'll show you, to our community platform. And it'll look like this. And it'll actually navigate you to the VSA, which is ViewSonic America's landing page, which is our forum. And then within our forum, you'll find all sorts of commentary that folks are putting into the chat there. So we want everybody to practice using our platform. So this is an opportunity to do that. And then also you'll find ways to actually contribute to the chat here under our webinar series. So what I ask for folks to do is that you'll find here the posting of our webinar is to share your thoughts, okay? And I'll put this all under our chat. So don't worry if you don't know where to navigate. I will navigate you through the chat during the time of the presentation. Okay, folks, I think it's that time. So I'm going to pass this over to Miss Haley Hunt. And Haley, take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. So it just took me a second there to go ahead and share my screen, but welcome all. Just as Ruben mentioned, today we're going to be going over what's new with myViewBoard Whiteboard. And as Ruben mentioned, I am one of the product managers here at ViewSonic. And so I'm going to be walking us through myViewBoard Whiteboard updates. So we have some very exciting updates today to go through. And before we get started, of course, we just have this agenda. So I want to set the pace for today. So I've decided to have us go through two parts of the important updates. So we're going to take a quick break in between. There's going to be some poll questions that get sent over. We would love if you take the time to answer those. That way we're able to better serve you in these webinars in the future. But then, of course, if you have attended one of our webinars in the past, you know that I love game time. So I think this is a good opportunity to play some games, check our understanding, but also look at some of the updates about how it can actually improve this game time in the future. And then, of course, at the very end, like Ruben mentioned, we're going to go back to our educator community, and there's going to be some exciting posts that you can go ahead and add comments to. We're going to be looking at those, and stay tuned for the very end because Ruben will have an exciting announcement too. And then just a reminder to reiterate, if you have any questions throughout this presentation, if you have any concerns about something that I've said, or you've come across an issue, or even a feature request, please feel free to share that with us. Our team is very happy to always receive those types of requests and feedback, because one of the great things with ViewSonic is we actually own and create our own software. So anytime that you see an update, most of the time, it's actually because it's coming from someone like you, a teacher, an IT administrator, a principal, even maybe someone who is using this for tutoring. they come across these types of requests and want to make sure that we're able to continue to improve our software. And that is going to be the goal of this presentation today, is to show you some of those improvements that we've been making. So again, we've talked about the educator community, so I'm going to go ahead and pass right back through here. And this is where we're going to start with our very first poll question. This is where we're going to start with important updates. Before I get into that too much, and while that poll question comes up, one of the things that I always like to mention is my setup. So I'm using a Windows Surface Pro, so I am using the whiteboard for Windows. So sometimes in our software, there might be differences between whiteboard for Windows and whiteboard for Android, Chromebook, iPad, or Mac. So sometimes you'll see these changes. However, most of these updates will be applied to all platforms. So that's very exciting. That means that all of these updates will be available for you. Now, there will be specific updates that are going to be for people with the interactive flat panels or view boards in their classrooms. So if you're using a view board, stay tuned. There are some very exciting introductions to new products that we're going to be adding for whiteboard for all of you. So stay tuned for that. But like I said, I am using a desktop setup. So I am using a keyboard and a mouse, and I'm going to be using that to navigate through the screen. So now that we've all had the opportunity to go through the polls, another thing that I like to do is, if you are brand new to myViewBoard Whiteboard, is just to get us all acquainted with what we're looking at before we dive into the actual new features. So of course, we are looking at Whiteboard for Windows, like I mentioned earlier. We are going to be looking at some main toolbar. So this toolbar, this is where some of our updates are going to take place. So I'm going to show you how to navigate to all these new features, so don't worry there. Another thing that I've already been using a lot of is the floating toolbar, which is in the left-hand corner of my screen. This floating toolbar is how I've been navigating and advancing the slides in this presentation so far. So there's some exciting things I'm going to be sharing in a little bit. But of course, another one that I'm going to point out, because we're going to get to this with some of the updates, is background management. Now that's going to be in the left-hand corner. It's going to be that mountain landscape with a dotted square around it. So we're going to be going through some of those updates here. Another helpful tip, like I've already shown, is if you hover over any icons, you forget what some of them might be. The great thing about this whiteboard software is that it always gives you a reminder. So as you can see, it tells you it's background management. So we're going to go through this. If you ever feel lost, we'll take a break. We'll review at the end. So let's go ahead and see one of our first updates. So again, if you have joined us in the past, you know that I love games. And one of the things that I use to count the spaces of each spin, you can say, is this spin tool. So one of the improvements that our group has put together is a new and improved spinning tool. So this is going to allow you to enhance your game time or add excitement. Some ways that I've seen students actually be able to participate in class is their teachers will add their name to a spinning wheel and use it to select the next popcorn reader. So it adds a little bit of that game time, some excitement. But one of the things that I'll do here is show you what the improvement is and then show you how you can create your own spinning wheel also. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and used the select tool at the bottom of my screen. Now that's going to be the dotted box with the blue arrow. So I've already made sure that I have the select tool. I've selected my object, which in this case is this rainbow colored wheel that I've already created. And something that's going to pop up is this side menu over here to the right. This is what we call the adorning menu. So if you're using one of our webinars for reference, we'll reference this as the adorning menu. Another thing that we'll note too is if you're using one of our resources online, like Knowledge Base, you can always go to the adorning menu section and it will teach you what each of these logos means. So for the first icon, of course, on the furthest right-hand side on that first row is the spin selected objects tool. So I'm going to go ahead and place it here. Like you see here, it looks pretty normal to how we've used it in the past. The improvement here is now you're able to choose when it stops. So you can either have it spin, 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 or to add a little bit more, you can stop it whenever by just pressing it again. So again, just to demonstrate, we're going to spin and then I'll stop it here. So this gives you a little bit more control with the spinning tool. But one of the requests that I've gotten in these past webinars is how to create this tool in the first place. Well, there's a couple different ways that I use it in the game time, so we'll be going back and looking at that. One of the ways that you can do it is spinning a circle just like this with different segments, or you can even use an arrow like a spinning wheel, like you would use in Twister or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the infinite canvas, so that's that hand icon. So what I'm going to do is I've already selected the hand, and since I'm using my mouse, I'm going to click on the screen and drag over. Now, if you are using your interactive board like your view board in class, what you do is just select that hand and then use your finger to navigate on the screen. So I'm going to use the infinite canvas here to go ahead and insert a shape. So first I'm going to demonstrate if we're going to do a circle. So one of the things with the tools is you can always select them and more shapes will come up, different colors. But what I'm going to do right now is show you a couple different ways to do it. So first of all, I have the circle selected, so I'm going to go ahead and draw that circle. I'm going to bring it down to the center here. One of the tools that you'll see here, and this is for Windows, also this will be in Android as well, but dividing into segments. So dividing into segments is going to give us those perfect pie-shaped areas. So I'm going to do 6, like I did in the example. So one thing that you can do now is you can actually click on one of these individual shapes, and now I can dye it a different color. So let's go ahead and use this blue. I'll click on this next one. I'll do a purple. I will continue to do this until I feel like I enjoy all the colors. Of course, you can also create custom ones, but I'm going to use these fun, already pre-made colors here. So as I'm doing it, I'm adding all these colors, and then I'm going to show you a quick tip here. So one thing you'll note is with the segments, which is great if you're teaching math, especially if you're learning through fractions, is if you click on one of these segment options, you'll notice that you can actually take it away. So again, this is great if you're teaching fractions in your class, but not so great if you're doing the spinning wheel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use our undo button here at the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to make sure that the select tool is selected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag using the select lasso tool, and the adorning menu will pop up again, selecting all of these segments. And I'm going to select this option here in the third row, which is group or ungroup selected objects. So I'm going to go ahead and group this. And so now what that allows me to do is I can no longer move just one of these shapes at a time. Now it moves as one whole unit. So this is going to be a great setup for a spinner. So I've already had this included, and now I'm already able to spin again. So this is just one way to set up. Another thing that you could do is you could keep the circle like this. And what I'll do is I'll go down to shapes again. So one thing to note is you might have noticed that the icon switched for the shapes. Now it looks like a circle. This is still the shape, so go ahead and double click on it. And I'm going to go to this third row over here, this third selection, and I'm going to hit this arrow icon. I can either choose a color now or we can recolor it later. I'm going to go ahead and pick white. So now I can go ahead and draw the arrow. And if you remember, this is the tool that I use for our game. So what you can do now is now you have the arrow drawn. I'm going to go back to the select tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the arrow, and now I can spin it. So I noticed that it's a little bit off, so I'll go ahead and just recenter so that next time that I spin, now it's perfectly centered. So that's a quick and easy way to create your own spinners. Of course, you can also add text. Like in our game, I add numbers here. So if we were numbering each of these and we had different selections, we could do that. Or you can even save the shape and add students' names, book titles, or even topics to discuss in class. So this is really a great tool for you all to come back to, increase a little bit of engagement in your class, and we are going to see more of this later during game time. The next one that I have here is an update to the ViewSonic Originals navigation. So like I mentioned earlier, we are going to be looking at the background management down here where I'm pointing with the yellow arrow. And again, if you're curious about the pen that I'm using, this is our laser pen. So the laser pen just helps with pointing out different parts of the whiteboard, and then it will disappear. So it's not permanent, it's just helping to gather attention for your students. So The main thing that I'm going to show you right now is in background management. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that icon. The improvement here is a new and improved feature layout for originals. So by clicking on that bird that I just did, now you'll see a much easier to digest section of our originals. You'll see that you can access all of these here, and you'll see that they are accessible to those with entity accounts. The ones that don't have the entity logo are free for even individual users who maybe not are part of a school or an organization. But you can see there are different types of backgrounds that you can use. So for example, if we're going to do letters and drawing, I can add this to my background, and you can see that it took over the background. Before I had a color, and now I have this awesome worksheet that we can use in class. I'm going to go ahead and back up and remove that background by just using the undo button. So I'm going to show you again how we did it. We clicked on background management, and this is going to pop up with a couple different icons right here. As you can notice, we're big on esports, and so I have a couple of esports maps saved here on my local drive. So if you're a little curious about what that is, we can definitely talk about how we use this to implement in esports later. But right now, I'm going to show you originals, which is this very stylized bird icon. I'm going to click on it again. Originals is going to pop up. You're going to have a navigation tree on the left, and you can do different subjects. So whatever you're teaching, maybe it's math, maybe you're even looking at science. There's going to be specific backgrounds ready and available for you to use. Now, another place that you can go for this improvement into originals is the magic box. So the magic box is going to be down here, and it's that brown box with the blue icon spilling out. I think of this as an Amazon package, Mary Poppins bag. And the reason for that is because this one tool contains so many other features in it. It's almost endless. And so by clicking on the magic box, I am navigated here to many different icons here. But what you'll notice again is that stylized bird. So now I'm going to have the same exact view, but now when I import using magic box, I can have different types of objects that I can add to the screen. So it is winter. I think this snowman is a perfect fit, especially for those of you in snowy climates right now. I do not get to enjoy snow during the winter, so this is the best I can do. So one thing to always remember, background management is going to change the background of your whiteboard, but Magic Box is going to import objects. So that's how I got this really cool graphic of a snowman to add to my presentation. So there's many different things that you can explore. I would encourage you all to take a look, see how you can add these already pre-made lessons or pre-made graphics to your whiteboards and your lessons in general. It's just a good tool to have, and if you ever need any inspiration, it's a good place to go. So this is the beginning of our first part of looking into some of these important updates. So at this moment, we're going to take a quick break again, have another poll that comes across, and then we'll get into some of the other updates for you all as well. So I'll give you a brief second to go ahead and answer that poll on your screen. So I've already gone ahead and put up the next part, which is an introduction and a new type of item in the Follow Me settings. So if you're unfamiliar with the Follow Me settings or your account preferences, it's a section that you can go to on myviewboard.com. On the dashboard, it allows you to save preferences for your whiteboard. So maybe this is something that you're already familiar with and you're already using. If not, this is a good opportunity to see how you can customize your account for your needs in your class. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use our Windows toggle button, which is that blue 4 square icon on the far left of the main toolbar. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this Windows, and I'm going to navigate. And what you'll see here is we're in the myviewboard.com dashboard. There is a new type of website layout that you might notice. You can always switch back to the legacy site if you're unfamiliar with this new version, really whatever you're comfortable with. But if you are using the older version, some place that you would go to right now would be in this upper hand corner. I'll go ahead and mark it for us all. It should have an image of a person or your profile picture, your viewboard name, and your email. So by clicking that, that's going to take us to the My View Board Follow Me settings. So you can see that second option is Follow Me. So this is going to give you all the different types of preferences. So when you are setting up your whiteboard for the first time, or even if you want to make changes, there are many different options that you can add. So there are settings to the light or dark mode for the icons. You can also choose the auto sign out time, which is a great choice for those who are sharing classrooms, or if you're teaching multiple classes throughout the day, making sure that it signs out if you need to go to lunch or you need to go to a different room, like going to the office. It will automatically sign you out, so you don't need to worry that you've actually signed in for forever. There's a couple different things. If you're using this to interact with your students, you can have a session password for those you that are using Throw or wireless presentation mode. But there's another thing down here for font settings like text, but then you'll notice pen settings. And this is where the new setting comes in. You'll notice in the past, if you've used this, there was always a thick tip width setting. So this is important for those who are using view boards in their classroom. If you have a view board, you might notice that you have a stylus with two ends. There is a thick end and a thin end. Now, in the past, you were only able to choose the thick tip, color, and width. So what that would look like is you could choose the width. 6 is about the normal size, the default, but then you can choose a custom color. What has now been improved is the ability to go ahead and choose your own thin tip too. So the way that we've seen teachers use this, and maybe this is something that you can start utilizing too, is if you are using that stylus, you can use black as your default or blue or whatever you prefer. But then if you want to use the thin tip for navigating students to see important topics, you want to use it for corrections, or even just putting emphasis on a word, you can choose the thin tip here and your color. So you could do red for corrections, you could do yellow for pointing things out, or even blue just because it's a nice, fun, almost like a ball tip pen. Whatever makes sense for you. But I'm also going to show us how you can use this in the newer version. So let's go ahead and navigate back to the new version of the UI for my myViewBoard dashboard. So here we are again. What I'm going to show you here is, again, you're going to see that same icon. So again, it's either going to be your profile picture or an image of a person. I have just not included a profile picture. I probably should, but right now I'm going to go ahead and click on it and make sure that you have the mouse, and I'm going to click on it. One thing that you'll notice is that the Follow Me settings in the new layout is no longer called Follow Me settings. Instead, just go to settings, and now you have whiteboard here. Now, whiteboard is going to have all of your different preferences. So just what we were looking at, but it goes into a little bit more depth about what each of the features means. And then again, you can go ahead and choose your pen settings here. So if I wanted to use red for correction and I want to do it thin width of 2, I will add that. So the important thing to note on both sites, either if you're using the legacy site or the new UI, always make sure you save at the end. Always make sure you save at the end. So this will now apply on your next sign in to Whiteboard. So that's a really cool feature, and I think it will be helpful for those of you who like to use your view boards and use them in different ways. So this is a great way to use your stylus. Try it out. Maybe you learned something new with Follow Me settings, and maybe you'll start even doing preferred backgrounds or even just preferred pen color too. So that's a great tool to have in your tool belt. The next one, and probably the most important one, this is a huge update that we're very excited to share with you all. This has come from many, many requests, and we've heard you, we've seen that this would be a great improvement to your lesson planning within Whiteboard, and that is the ability to import PowerPoints. Now, you could always import PowerPoints in the past, but you may have remembered that you would import like a picture. So you would have had to create all of your edits in your PowerPoint, and then when you were ready, upload it into Whiteboard. Now, the improvement here, and our team has worked very hard on this, is actually providing you the ability to go ahead and import those PowerPoints now as editable objects. So to demonstrate this, I have already imported a PowerPoint, but I will go back after showing you that and showing you how you can actually import on your own. So I'm gonna go ahead and move over to the next one. This was a presentation I just pulled from PowerPoint from some of their templates, and it's a lab safety guide. So as you can see, it looks pretty good. It looks like a good background here. But one of the tools that you may not have remembered is, again, when you were using PowerPoint in the past, it would show up as an image and you wouldn't be able to edit text. But maybe I want to make it specific to my classroom. Now I can use the select tool. And now when I do this, I can actually begin typing to everyone here. So I can say, we can get rid of this and we can add a list. So we can say, prepare lesson, bring safety goggles, and excuse all my typos. But the idea here is you can add your text, you can change the font, the size, but now you all were able to do this just from a PowerPoint presentation, even with images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll out just a little bit using the infinite canvas. Again, if you were using this on a view board, you would use a pinch in or pinch out mode to zoom in or out. But because I'm using my mouse, I'm going to use my scroll wheel. So I'm going to scroll out a little bit here just to get the full picture. I'm going to center it. And now what I'm going to do is make sure you select. So now you can see that this object can be moved around as well. So this means that you have greater functionality with your PowerPoints of existing lessons, especially if you want to transport over them to whiteboard to be able to have students write on them, or even if you want to keep PowerPoint as your reference documents for the future, but then import them so your students can actually interact or even take notes and have separate notes to save with your students later on. Now you have multiple different options to be able to do that. So what I've done now is, again, just showing you all of the different things that you can do so I can shrink it. And what I did was, when this was imported, it actually had the image grouped. I ungrouped it by using the adorning menu. And now I can even move this icon. So maybe I don't want the clipboard. Maybe I want a picture of a beaker or a scale or even safety goggles. I can go ahead and delete this, look up a new icon, either using the ViewSonic Originals, which I showed you earlier, or even going into something like image search. So I looked up for snowflakes earlier because I wanted to add it to my presentation. And let's say that we wanted to make this a very special edition of Safety Lab by going ahead and making it winter themed. So there's many different options available. Let me show you on another slide. So a great way to do this is in this idea here, they're asking people to actually go in and add a clip art or an icon image of what you would do to dress for lab. So there is an example here. What I could do is maybe I want the students to already use these icons that I have laid out here. So what I would do is I would go to the select object, I would click on this block, and I would go to the group here, and I'm going to ungroup the objects. And now what should happen is each of these individual objects are now able to be moved around. So you can use this as a, an icon bank of sorts and let students drag and drop. You could do, you do like a swimming suit, you could do a snowsuit, you could do bunny ears, you could do a Halloween costume, anything really, and then have students select the correct pieces of clothing. It's really up to you how you want to add this, but now you have a little bit more ability to be flexible with your presentations, use existing ones that you've pulled from other teachers. Maybe you are updating it for them and want to update it all in whiteboard. Now you have the option. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate back using our view of all of the different slides. And I'm going to go back to our importing PowerPoints slide here. Let me show you how this works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the magic box. Again, this is going to be a very important tool for all of you, especially if you're adding objects or PowerPoints in this case, is the magic box. Another thing that I do want to point out and clarify is next to the magic box, you'll see a manila folder. This folder is great for adding already existing whiteboard lessons. But if you want to import a PowerPoint, you would need to do so using Magic Box. So Magic Box, you'll notice, has a cloud drive and a local storage drive. So again, back in those follow me settings or just settings for whiteboard, you can choose to select certain cloud storage drives. So I'm using OneDrive for Business. What I can do now is I've already created a whiteboard lessons section here. And so with the help of some of our great colleagues, I have been able to provide a couple of really fun lessons that Owen, one of our members of the ViewSonic team, actually put together for some of his past classes that he taught. So he had a great lesson all about subject-verb agreement problems and all centered on fun alien types of sentences. So as you can see, he had many different examples and great ways to get the students really involved and enjoying what they're learning. So I have all of the pages available, but let's say I only want to select a couple. So what I'll do is I'll select maybe this one, and we'll do problematic sentences, and we'll do this slide over here about James Cameron. So now I can do a couple of different options. So again, I can either choose to select individual ones, or I can select all. So if I select all and then I realize, no, I don't want to do that, but instead of having to go one by one, you can just press this unselect all. Don't worry about it. But what I'll do is I'll go back and select the ones that I had previously selected. And then you're going to see the next option. So you'll see import as object or import as background. For this to work the best, we recommend using import as object. Importing as object will allow you to actually do what we saw previously and add text or edit the text. This is how you're going to add your PowerPoint and be able to make changes. And then we're going to import landscape, and this is going to add to our presentation. So now it's adding as separate slides here, and I'll go back to our slide navigation tool, and it's added to our whiteboard deck. So now that we're here, we can go and look at some of the exciting things that Owen had put together for his class. So these are really fun, quirky sentences that will make the students really think about it. So now what you can do is you can go ahead and make sure you have the select button selected, and now you can go ahead and get rid of anything that you don't want anymore. Maybe you want to add a new title, or even you want to add some color. You are able to do that now. And as we do this, you're also able to move things around. You can either have them as objects themselves. You can also resize altogether. And then you can start adding images. You can add a background color. And once you're ready to go, this is something that I always prefer, is making sure that the objects are locked so that if you invite any students up to the board, you don't have to worry about accidentally selecting any of the text boxes. And instead, now they can come up. You can navigate to your pen tool. So again, if you're using a ViewBoard and you already have that stylus, you don't need to choose a different color because you can just use that thin tip. And now you can have the students start marking up the sentences. So this is a really fun tool. And again, if I wanted to work on this one, let's say, okay, I like how this imported, it's a little too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, hit the select tool. I'm going to select the text, and I'm just going to shrink it to size so that I don't have to use the infinite canvas. So now you're able to do that. Maybe you want to stretch it out. So what I've done here is I've selected the object, and anytime that you want to interact with the text box, you just select it again, almost like Excel. So think when you're using Excel, you click it once to select, and then you click it twice to actually be able to write in it. So you can stretch out the text to make it bring up the entire screen. You can shrink it. Maybe you want to add different columns and have sentences side by side, really whatever works for your use case. But now you're able to have a little bit more structure to already created whiteboards. And I think this is going to be a really fun tool that I would love to see how all of you are implementing. So if you're already in our community and you want to show how you're using existing PowerPoint lessons now in Whiteboard, I know that I would love to see it. And I'm sure that other members of the community would also be very appreciative of that. But with that being said, we are now going to go into our next section, which will be game time. But before we do that, I believe there's another poll. Take the time to answer that and get competitive, because we are going to check your understanding. We're going to go over some of the things that we've already talked about, and I'm going to test your knowledge. All right, now that that question has been added, I'm going to just take a quick second and we're going to navigate to the game. All right. So like I mentioned earlier, I use the spinning tool to use in our game. So what I will do is I'm going to show off this tool. Again, this is how I have it set up. If you are curious, let's go ahead and get a little bit closer and I'll show you how I created this one. So as you can see here, I created this using the circle and segment tool already. But one of my secrets that I haven't showed off in the past is how I actually created this specific one. So what you'll notice is this whole object has been locked. So I'm going to unlock it just for your view. And I'm also going to ungroup the objects. So now you're going to notice that there are different objects here. I have grouped many times into these to make sure that it functions properly. So what I did was I created the shape, I changed the color, and I also changed the outline color. So again, if you're trying to fill the entire shape, you're going to use this paint bucket. But if you want to change the outside of the shape, you're going to use this color palette. So I just used the eyedrop tool and found a color that I liked. I pulled directly from the canvas and the game tool that I've already pulled from ViewSonic Originals. I made it a little bit darker and I saved it like that. And then another thing that I did was I created different text boxes for each number here. And then I went and I changed the font and the size, and then I also did the color, doing a very similar situation where I used the eyedrop tool and I found this great purple bluish color and saved it like that. So then once everything was together, I'm going to go ahead and move this arrow out of the way to show you how I made sure that this object was going to work together. So I'm going to use my select tool. I'm going to use that lasso tool. I'm going to have to start over here because I have so many text boxes that have been in multiple presentations. And what I did was I just, like you can see, you're able to move the shape around. But what I want to do is make sure that it's saved all together. So I'm going to use the lasso tool and I am going to make sure that this shape is out of the way, because a little bit of fun of something that I like to show too is when you are importing objects, and this is behind the scenes curtain, one of the things is you're going to always get your backgrounds in a 3x3 grid. So if you're using ViewSonic Originals, what actually comes up is if I select on this tool, you'll notice that you'll see the grid in the background. So let me zoom out just to show you. So what I've done to make sure that this only imports how I want it was I wanted to add it as a background. What you could also do is you could import this same background as an object and lock it to the screen. It's really up to you. I just wanted to show you some additional ways that you can do this. So you can move these color boxes away, and really, again, peeking behind the curtain to show how all of this is set up. This is one thing to do. So I'm going to undo all of this nonsense and get back to what we looked at before, and that is the spinning tool and the object here. So we're going to wait until the arrow gets back onto the wheel, and now we're able to get started. But one thing that I will always note is make sure that you get back to where you want. So I'm going to go back a little bit further, and now we can get started. But again, that's just a peek behind the curtain, one way that you can use the tool to your advantage and however you choose to do it. So now that we have the spinning wheel, up and ready, I think it's time for us to start playing the game. All right. Okay. So my first question to you all, well, first I got to move our finch. My first question to you all is, what is one way that you can change the pen color? So that's the pen tool color. So I will take multiple answers, and once you have the answer, go ahead and feel free to put it in the chat. But my question is, what is one way that you can change the pen tip color? And I'll take many. Yep, under settings, follow me settings, myviewboard.com. You can click on the pen tool, exactly. So all of these work for changing the pen tool. So with that, let's go ahead and use our spinning tool. We're going to move the arrow and see where we land. All right, 1. So what you'll notice is that took a little bit longer than we wanted. So the next time we spin it, we're going to use the new feature update that allows us to stop it wherever we want. So we're going to move it 1. So we moved our finch. We're going to try to get the finch home before we get into the community stuff. So the next question that I have is, what is one way that you can add a PowerPoint document? How can you add a PowerPoint document to your whiteboard? Okay, I'm seeing some answers come in. Yep, import via the magic box. That is the correct answer. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select our arrow on our wheel. We're going to spin and I'm going to stop it. Okay, we got to 3. Okay, so let's go 1, 2, 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to switch to our present mode to make it a little bit cleaner as we go through the game. All right, next question I have, and this one we'll use the dice for. What is the box called with the blue icons? Just to see if you're paying attention. You can either use one of the nicknames I gave it or you can give it its official name. So it's on the main toolbar. What is the name of the brown box with the blue icons in it? Magic box. Okay, great. Yes. Magic box, Mary Poppins purse, Amazon package, whatever you want to call it. The real name is Magic Box, and it sounds like all of you got that. So let's go ahead, hit the dice. We're moving 4. Okay. Oh, and my bird is stuck on this locked object. No worries here. We're going to move this over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Next question I have for you all is, what is the name of the tool to change the color of the shape? So when we were creating our spinning wheel, we changed the color. What was the one? So you can either choose to change the fill or you can choose to change the color of the outline. You can either name the icon, where to find it. What is that called? Okay, I'm seeing the options come in. So someone's saying, yes, you go to the adorning menu to change it and you're using the paint bucket. That is correct. Let's go ahead and use our dice again. And we're moving 6. Awesome. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, another question for you. When we were creating our spinning wheel earlier, we used a tool that allowed us to split the circle into multiple sections. What is that tool called? So what is the tool called? Awesome. Yes, segment tool is correct. I did mention it as the fraction tool, so it's perfectly able to be used as fractions for classrooms. But if you are looking for it up on our knowledge base, it will be called the segment tool. So let's go ahead and make sure that this gets moved over to the right spot here, and let's spin the arrow. Oh, it's a little off center. That's okay. We moved 2. 1, 2. Okay, let's try to get the finch home. Hopefully we roll a little bit higher this time. All right. There are 2 ways to get to the ViewSonic originals. Can you name both of them? There are 2 ways to get to the ViewSonic originals in Whiteboard. What are those 2 ways? Okay. Mountain picture. Yep. Background management and magic box. Yep. And stylized bird. Yep. That's correct. So all of you got it correct. Let's go ahead and roll the dice. And there we go. We sent our finch home. So congrats, everyone. I had a lot of fun with that. I hope you learned something. I hope you were able to see some of the improvements to Whiteboard. Our goal is to start doing this more on a regular basis with all of you as our updates start to come out. Again, these updates are more on a quarterly basis, so stay tuned for later in the year when some of these bigger updates come out. We'll be very excited to share them all with you. But again, if you have any questions or you need reference back to some of the exact things that have happened, you can always see the what's new available within knowledge base on myviewboard.com. So with that, I am done with my section and I'm going to send it back over to Ruben for some very exciting announcements. So thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Haley, so much. And folks, please take a moment on the chat and just give us a loud round of emoticons, clapping hands to Miss Haley Hunt, who just delivered an amazing presentation. given us a lot of updates and developments too for us to be mindful of and to be on the lookout too. And so again, when these updates happen, there's testing involved, but at the end of the day, we need your feedback if something's not going right, especially so that way we can address it. And if it works one way for someone, it may not work the other way, or this is where we can essentially share out best practices within the community platform. So, anywho, I am going to share with you my screen, and I know for some of you all who got a chance to hear the intro, I'm going to recap it just a little bit and actually dive in a little bit more towards the campaigns that we're running. So let me go ahead and share my screen so that everybody can see what I'm looking at. Okay, and here we go. Hopefully everybody can see. So it looks like we've got a couple of folks who already chatted and left their comments there. So thank you. And you folks have entered to our giftogram sweepstakes. So this is a $25 giftogram sweepstakes. And the nice part about the giftogram is that it looks something like this. Okay, this is the actual site. So $25 will be emailed to you if you get elected, and you get to pick where you want to spend your $25. And you can actually divide the $25. So you can do $5 here, $20 there, divide it however way you wish. So this is a really neat platform that we're testing out. So I'm excited to be partnering with Giftogram to be able to do something like this, to give away any kind of incentive here that will drive excitement here. So anywho, with that being said, I am waiting for some more responses since we do have a little bit of time before I spin that wheel. But in the interim, what I'll share really quickly is how to actually participate in this. So for some of you all who figured it out, you're essentially going to join our community by getting to this landing page. Okay, and I'll post it here on our chat. Okay, so that way you can follow along with me. And you're going to click on the Join the Community button. So once you click there, it's going to take you to the US and Canada form. And you're going to see all sorts of great announcements. But for this purpose, I'm going to click here where it says Winter 2024 Webinar Series. And we're going to click there. And once you click there, you'll get a chance to enter what are your thoughts. Okay. And once you enter your thoughts, you automatically are in. So I get to take your name or your username in that case, and I get to put it in the wheel of names. So it looks like we've got a couple more folks who just entered their comments. Fantastic. If you want to reply to somebody else's comments, if there was something that we didn't answer, you want to put it in here, feel free to do that. Haley recaps it too as well, so that way if you missed a note, you have it. You'll find the recording here as well for your point of reference. And as Haley mentioned earlier, when we do these updates, they happen more on a quarterly basis. So be on the lookout for the next webinar. You'll get a chance to find it all here in this platform. Now, something important to note is more news and announcements that I have in store. So in the interim, this could be a good time for those who have not posted. Go ahead and take a minute. Now, if you are finding yourself not able to post, not able to have this option to actually enter a comment or a post, if you will, then it may require for you to sign up for myViewBoard. This is essentially the tool that we're using to be able to interact with our interactive flat panels. And even if you didn't have a flat panel, you're able to obtain this software for free. So there isn't any heavy lifting. It's just your basic information. And at the end of the day, you'll obtain that software and you'll be part of the activities that we have in our community platform. Now, I'm going to transition to the next tab here, which is our landing page. So I highly recommend this link that I just chatted with everybody to possibly bookmark it. Keep it. This is an active page that will remain active. So anything that's happening within our community that is worth your attention or news or what have you will be found here. So our banners that you can see, they're sliding through. These are big events, promotions, what have you, something that you might find of interest or maybe of others. So I'd like to go through this with you because we just launched some pretty big announcements that I want to take a minute to actually share with you folks. Now, for the first one that you see here, this one is actually a neat way for us to get essentially more attention around our community. So if you were to click here, this particular banner, it will take you to another page that will be very descriptive to what this promotion is about. So in this case, this is open for any and all. Essentially, we're inviting folks to refer more folks, right? So essentially refer more of your friends, your colleagues that are educators that could benefit from learning more of these topics in these webinars. The neat thing about what we share is that ultimately we want to cultivate what it is that you're looking for. So without your feedback, we really are not able to produce the best quality content. So we do need your help and support to be able to do that. So with all that being said, nothing is ever left without appreciation. And so we've provided some really neat incentives. So if you were to click on this button here, this is essentially what the form will look like. And it just asks for very basic information. And essentially there are tiers for you to refer friends if you'd like to participate in certain sweepstake items that you would like to enter your name into a drawing for us to pick out winners every beginning of our webinar. So we just launched this. So next month, we'll be picking out a winner. So essentially, depending on the tier levels that you want to refer, we picked here 3 different tiers. And if you'd like to refer essentially more folks, you get a chance to aim towards different levels here. So we'll be doing drawings to obtain who our lucky winners are. Okay. Now, with that being said, you are all seeing this sweatshirt. Haley and I were just wearing our sweatshirt, and this is our ViewSonic Educator Community sweatshirt. Now, how we got all of these is that essentially you can also obtain one of these, if you like, by becoming an ambassador. If you were to click on the Become an Ambassador banner, what you'll see here is ways for you to win all sorts of great incentives and prizes from ViewSonic. So there's different levels to obtain. And so all the activities that you're doing, we want to count them. So essentially, these are the activities broken down. Each of the activities equate to points. And essentially, we've created a rubric point system. So that way, we reward your efforts to participate in our community and how you're helping one another or others, if you will, in terms of informing, providing awareness, all that great stuff. We want to reward that. Now, if you'd like to learn more, simply clicking here on the sign up, it will just ask for basic information, as you can see here. And ultimately, our community manager will set up a time for an online info session to dive deeper. Okay. All right. So I am going to check on our postings here and see how many folks have participated because we're almost to that time. And I want to honor folks. So fantastic. It looks like we've got about 10 replies. How cool. So this is the moment of truth. So I'm going to split my screen here so that folks can see what I am seeing. Give me 1 second. I'm going to prepare so that way I capture everyone's participation. So stand by. I think at this point, since everyone's waiting, please give me a drum roll emoticon. So that way we are preparing for a spin the wheel moment to see who our lucky winner is. So let's see here. Excellent. I see the drum rolls. Thank you for being patient. I am including everybody here that has participated. Thank you so much for your comments. Again, you will find the recording in this particular banner chat. So just be on the lookout in case you miss anything, or if you wanted to share this with folks. There are all sorts of great incentives that are out there. All right. Right. I think we are almost set. I'm going to double check. I've got 10 folks here that have entered. I'm just going to double check if there's any more. Okay. All right. It looks like that is our list right here. So it looks like we've got the drum roll. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to refresh my page one more time just to make sure. I'm not leaving anyone out. Okay, fantastic. Here it is. It looks like we've got 10 folks. We're about to spin this wheel. All right. In 3, 2, 1. Let's go. We're spinning the wheel. And it looks like the winner is, oh, here it is. Miss Sandman. All right. Fantastic. Round of applause to Miss Sandman. Thank you. You are the lucky winner of a $25 giftogram card. So you'll be receiving an email and you get to choose and pick. And you're a first winner of our giftogram. So tell us on the community platform, what do you think? Hey, this is really cool. I got to use this for other purposes. But we found this platform to be very useful. So that way you get to pick how you want to spend your $25. So fantastic, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. We want to give a minute back to you all. Thank you for logging in. And please feel free to share. And if you have any questions, again, tune us in the community platform. We'll be happy to answer it. Thank you, everyone. Take care.